Lady Cecilia Wren had exactly 14 minutes before the Ashworth fortune vanished forever. She knew this because she counted everything: the cracks in the plaster ceiling above Lord Ashworth's study, the 7 creditors circling his estate like crows, and now the minutes ticking away on the mantel clock as Mr. Graves, the family solicitor, read the terms of a will designed to bury her. The estate, its grounds, and all liquid holdings, Graves intoned, shall pass to the eldest male relation unless a suitable marriage is contracted before midnight on the 28th of November. He paused. That is tonight. 14 minutes. 13 now. Cecilia stood in the rear of the Ashworth ballroom, not the grand one, but the secondary hall, pressed into service because the grand one had already been seized by creditors. 200 guests filled the space. Every family of consequence in London had come, not to celebrate, but to watch. Lady Whitmore, her late father's cousin and the architect of this entire spectacle, had made certain of that. "Choose any lady," Lady Whitmore announced from the dais, her voice cutting through the murmur of silk and crystal. She gestured across the assembled women with one gloved hand. "Any lady of standing. The Crown's provision is clear. Marry tonight, and the Ashworth estate is preserved." But Lady Whitmore was not speaking to Cecilia. She was speaking to him. Lord Aldrich Voss stood at the far end of the ballroom, like something carved from winter moonlight. Tall, still, pale in a way that made the candlelight seem to bend around him rather than touch him. He was the last of the Voss line, impossibly wealthy, and, according to every drawing-room in Mayfair, impossibly unmarried. Lady Whitmore had arranged everything: the will's marriage clause, the guest list of eligible women, the public setting to ensure compliance, and the implicit bargain: Aldrich would choose a wife from among the families Lady Whitmore favored, and in exchange, the Ashworth debts would be quietly absorbed. Cecilia was not on the list. Cecilia was, in fact, the person Lady Whitmore intended to destroy, the cousin twice removed, the inconvenient woman with a legitimate claim to the estate, the one who had refused, 3 times, to sign away her inheritance rights. "Choose any lady," Lady Whitmore repeated, louder now, smiling at the crowd. "We are all friends here." Cecilia counted the exits. 3. She counted the women arranged like offerings near the dais. 9. She counted the seconds Lord Voss had been standing motionless. 27. Then he moved. He walked past every one of them. Past Lady Harriet Pembroke, who had been positioned closest and wore diamonds borrowed for the occasion. Past the Cavendish sisters, who stepped apart to make room he did not request. Past Miss Ashton Graves, whose father controlled the Bank of the Regent. Past Lady Whitmore herself, whose smile fractured like ice on a warming river. He walked past every one of them, straight to her. Cecilia felt 200 pairs of eyes land on her like physical weight. She was wearing a gray dress she had mended twice. Her gloves did not match. She was standing near the servants' corridor because Lady Whitmore had ensured she received no chair. Lord Voss stopped before her. His eyes were the color of deep amber, and there was something ancient in them, something patient beyond any patience she had encountered. "Lady Cecilia Wren," he said. His voice was low and precise. "I believe you are owed a chair." The room erupted, not in applause, in scandal. "This is absurd," Lady Whitmore said from the dais, her composure crumbling. "She is not a candidate. She has no standing, no sponsorship, no—" "She has a claim to this estate that predates yours by 3 generations," Aldrich said without turning. "I read the parish registers." Cecilia looked up at him. She counted the heartbeats in her own chest. 4. Fast. "I count things," she said. "It is a compulsion. I have counted 9 women you ignored, 204 witnesses to this scandal, and exactly 0 reasons you should be speaking to me." "Then you miscounted," he said. Lady Whitmore descended from the dais. "Lord Voss, I must insist. The arrangement was clear. Choose from the approved families. Miss Wren is she is a bookkeeper's daughter with pretensions. My father was an estate surveyor, Cecilia corrected. 3 generations of estate surveyors. We counted the land before your family learned to spell it. A ripple of murmured shock moved through the crowd. Lady Pembroke pressed a hand to her throat. Sir Edmund Hale, standing near the refreshment table, let out a single involuntary bark of laughter. Lady Whitmore's eyes narrowed. You will regret this, Miss Wren. Both of you will. I have counted your threats before, Lady Whitmore, Cecilia said. 7 since September. None of them have improved with repetition. Aldrich extended his hand, not as a social gesture, as a statement, in full view of every gossip, every rival, every schemer in the room. Cecilia took it. His skin was cool, not cold, cool, the way marble feels in a cathedral. She noticed this. She filed it among the things she counted but did not yet understand. The clock, she said quietly. 9 minutes. Then we should not waste them, he replied. The registry office adjoined the ballroom, another of Lady Whitmore's arrangements, intended for a different bride. The officiant, Reverend Collis, was already present, already perspiring, already deeply uncomfortable with the deviation from plan. This is most irregular, Collis murmured, leafing through documents. Lady Whitmore provided a specific list. The will specifies a marriage, Aldrich said. It does not specify to whom. I have read it. Have you? Collis had not. Cecilia stood beside a man she had met 4 minutes ago and prepared to marry him. She counted the absurdities. A will she had not written, a ballroom she had not been invited to, a groom she had not chosen, and a fortune she had spent 3 years fighting to preserve. You are remarkably calm, Aldrich observed. I am counting, she said. It prevents panic. What are you counting now? The number of questions I will need answered after this ceremony. She paused. 43 so far. The ceremony took 6 minutes. Cecilia counted every one. When they emerged, the ballroom had not emptied. It had congealed into clusters of whispered fury and delighted scandal. Lady Whitmore stood at the center of the largest cluster, and the expression on her face was not defeat. It was recalibration. Cecilia recognized it because she had seen it before, in creditors, in landlords, in every person who had underestimated a surveyor's daughter and then adjusted their strategy accordingly. She is not finished, Cecilia said to Aldrich. No, he agreed. She is not. Lady Whitmore approached them as they crossed the ballroom floor. The crowd parted for her. She carried a folded document in one hand. How charming, she said. A marriage of convenience performed in haste. The courts will find that fascinating. She held up the document. I have here a sworn affidavit from 3 witnesses attesting that Lord Ashworth, before his death, expressed the intention to revoke Miss Wren's inheritance claim entirely. It was signed but never filed. Then it has no legal force, Cecilia said immediately. Not yet, Lady Whitmore said, smiling. But a chancery judge sympathetic to my family might feel differently, especially when presented with evidence that this marriage was contracted under fraudulent pretenses. What evidence? Aldrich asked. Give me time, Lord Voss. Evidence can always be found. She tucked the document away. Or manufactured. I have learned that the distinction matters less than one might hope. She turned and walked away. 3 women followed her. Cecilia counted them. She just admitted to planning fraud, Cecilia said, in a room full of people. She admitted nothing specific, Aldrich said. She implied. Implication is her weapon. Cecilia looked at him. You speak as though you have studied her. I have studied many people over a very long time. A pause. You will find that I am older than I appear. Everyone in this room is older than they appear, Cecilia said. Cosmetics are very advanced this season. Something shifted in his expression, not a smile, a fracture in the stillness, like the first crack in ice before spring. The Ashworth townhouse had 17 rooms, and Cecilia had counted every one during the 3 years she had lived there as her father's designated heir. Now she walked through them as a married woman with a husband who moved through darkness as though it were water. She noticed this on their first evening. The lamps were not lit in the east corridor, and Aldrich navigated it without hesitation, without reaching for the wall, without a single misstep. "You can see in the dark," she said. It was not a question. "I can see well in low light," he corrected carefully. "That is what I said," stated more evasively. He stopped walking. In the darkness, she could not see his expression, but she could hear the quality of his silence change, consideration rather than evasion. "There are things about me that will require explanation," he said. "I ask for time." "How much time?" "More than you will want to give." "I have given you my name and my legal standing much time." "More than you will want to give." "I have given you my name and my legal standing in time." "More than you will want to give." "I have given you my name and my legal standing in the space of 6 minutes," she said. "You can give me honesty before the week is out." He said nothing for a long moment. Then, "Before the week is out." 3 days passed. Lady Whitmore did not wait. On the second morning, Cecilia found a notice in the Times announcing that the legitimacy of the Ashworth marriage was being challenged in Chancery Court. The notice named Cecilia as a woman of uncertain parentage and dubious claim, and it bore the signature of Sir Reginald Fosse, a barrister known to be in Lady Whitmore's employ. On the third morning, a letter arrived from Barclays informing Cecilia that the Ashworth accounts had been frozen pending judicial review. On the third evening, Aldrich found her in the study, surrounded by 14 separate legal documents, cross-referencing dates. "She has moved faster than I anticipated," he said. "She filed the Chancery petition before the wedding," Cecilia replied without looking up. "The dates do not align otherwise. She planned for the possibility that you would choose someone she did not control. She planned for every possibility. Not everyone." Cecilia held up a land survey dated 1843. "My grandfather surveyed the original Ashworth boundaries. His measurements were used in the Crown deed. If the inheritance claim is challenged, the physical survey record supersedes the family register." She paused. "I counted the discrepancies. There are 11. All of them favor my claim." Aldrich sat across from her. "You are remarkable." "I am thorough. Remarkable implies surprise, and I would prefer not to be surprising for doing my job competently." He studied her in a way that made the candlelight feel insufficient, as though he were seeing something the light could not reach. "I need to tell you something," he said, "about what I am. You are inhumanly pale, you see in the dark. Your skin is the temperature of cathedral stone, and you have not eaten a single meal in 3 days, despite Mrs. Harding preparing 4. He went very still. "I count everything," Cecilia said, "including the things people hope I will not notice." "And your conclusion?" "I do not have one yet. I have data. Conclusions require more information." She set down the survey. "Tell me." He told her about the cool skin first, then the years, not decades, but centuries. He told her about a world hidden inside the one she knew, a society of beings who had lived alongside humanity since before the conquest. He told her about the loneliness of watching generations pass. He did not tell her the word, not yet. "You are being careful with me," she said. "Yes, do not be. I have survived Lady Whitmore, Chancery Court, and a 6-minute marriage. I can survive a word," but he shook his head. "Not tonight. You have 14 legal documents to finish." 11. "I finished 3 while you were building courage." The Chancery hearing was set for Friday. Lady Whitmore arrived at the courthouse with Sir Reginald Fosse, 4 witnesses, and a stack of documents thick enough to prop open a cathedral door. Cecilia arrived with Aldrich, her grandfather's survey, and a very clear memory. The judge, Mr. Justice Blackwell, was known for impatience and precision, qualities Cecilia appreciated. The courtroom was public. 30 observers filled the gallery. Lady Whitmore had ensured press attendance. The petitioner claims, Sir Reginald began, that the marriage contracted on the evening of November the 28th was performed under fraudulent circumstances, that Miss Wren, now Lady Voss, had no legitimate inheritance claim, and that the entire arrangement was designed to circumvent the lawful intentions of the late Lord Ashworth. 3 claims, Cecilia murmured to Aldrich. She will need evidence for each. The evidence Lady Whitmore produced was impressive. A letter, purportedly from Lord Ashworth, expressing his wish to exclude Cecilia from inheritance. Testimony from a former servant claiming Cecilia's father had falsified survey records, and a financial document suggesting the Ashworth accounts had been improperly accessed. 5 documents, Cecilia counted under her breath. 3 fabricated, 2 misrepresented. How do you know? Aldrich asked. The letter uses a form of address my cousin abandoned in 1889. The servant's testimony references a room that was demolished in 1891. And the financial document bears a stamp from Coutts Bank that was not introduced until after the account was supposedly accessed. She had counted everything. She had always counted everything. But Lady Whitmore had prepared for thoroughness. She had prepared for legal challenges and documentary evidence. What she had not prepared for was the moment Sir Reginald called his final witness, a man named Huxley, who claimed to have personally seen Cecilia forge her father's survey signatures. That is a lie, Cecilia said, standing. Sit down, Lady Voss, Justice Blackwell warned. The witness is committing perjury. My father's surveys are lodged with the Ordnance Office. The originals bear a watermark that cannot be replicated with... Sit down. She sat. But she did not stop counting. She counted the lies. She counted the fabrications. And she counted the fact that, despite all her evidence, the judge appeared to be listening to Huxley with serious attention. The hearing adjourned, without resolution. Lady Whitmore left the courtroom smiling. She has the judge, Cecilia said flatly as they emerged into grey London air. She has influence with the judge, Aldrich corrected. That is different. The practical difference escapes me. That evening, the accounts remained frozen. The hearing would reconvene in 5 days, and Lady Whitmore sent a personal note to Cecilia, delivered by her own footman. Withdraw your claim, sign the relinquishment, keep your grey dresses and your counting and your peculiar husband, or I will ensure you have nothing at all. Not the estate, not the name, not even the reputation of your dead father. Cecilia read the note twice. She counted the words. 41. She counted the threats. 4. Then she folded it and placed it in the drawer with the others. 7 since September, she said. 8 now. Aldrich found her on the roof. The Ashworth townhouse had a widow's walk, a narrow platform originally built for watching ships on the Thames. Cecilia sat there in the cold November air, wrapped in a shawl that was too thin, counting stars through the coal smoke. 14 visible tonight, she said without turning. Down from 19 last week. The fog is worsening. He sat beside her. His presence displaced no warmth because he carried none, but there was a quality to his stillness that she had begun to find steadying, like a wall that would not move regardless of what pressed against it. I have resources, he said, financial, social, and otherwise. I have not used them because I did not want to overwhelm your strategy. But the situation has changed. What resources? Connections that span centuries. Debts owed to me by families whose names now sit in Parliament. Records that predate the establishment Lady Whitmore relies upon. He paused. And something else. Tell me. I can compel truthfulness, not through violence, through presence, through what I am. She turned to face him. His eyes caught starlight that should not have been sufficient to illuminate them. What you are, she repeated. You promised me a word before the week was out. The week ends tomorrow. He looked at her for a long time. In his gaze she counted something she had not expected. Not reluctance, but grief. The grief of someone who had said this word before and watched it change everything. Vampire, he said. The word sat between them like a stone dropped in still water. Vampire, Cecilia repeated. Yes. She was quiet for 11 seconds. He counted them. She could see him counting. And the recognition that he counted too was the thing that steadied her. Show me, she said. He opened his mouth. The canines extended, not grotesquely, not like the penny dreadfuls she had read as a girl, but with a precise, almost architectural elegance, like something designed rather than grown. She counted the teeth, 32, including the two that had no business being that length. You are not afraid, he observed. I am terrified, she corrected. But terror and curiosity can coexist. I have verified this empirically. Most people run. Most people cannot count the reasons to stay. She pulled the shawl tighter. How old are you? I was born in 1403. That is 489 years. She paused. You have been alone for 489 years? Not always alone, but always, eventually, alone. She looked at the sky, 13 stars now. One had been swallowed by cloud. Lady Whitmore threatens to destroy my father's reputation, she said. My father surveyed land for 40 years. He measured every boundary with a chain and a theodolite and hands that never shook. She will not erase that. No, Aldrich agreed. And you have survived nearly 5 centuries. She will not erase that either. What are you proposing? I am proposing that we stop defending and start proving. She stood. The wind caught her hair. She fabricates evidence. We present originals. She buys witnesses. We compel truth. She uses the court. We use the court better. The compulsion I described, it requires proximity, and it reveals what I am. Then we will need to be strategic about proximity. She looked down at him. I counted 43 questions on our wedding night. I am now at 112. But the most important one is this. Do you trust me with the whole truth? Not pieces, not careful omissions. Everything. He rose. Standing, he was taller than she remembered, and the starlight made him look like something from a painting she had seen once in a gallery. Timeless, beautiful, and profoundly sad. Yes, he said. Then we begin tomorrow. They began with the Ordnance Office. Cecilia's grandfather and father had lodged every survey with the Crown's cartographic archive. The originals bore watermarks, registry stamps, and margin annotations in her grandfather's distinctive hand, a hand she had memorized by the age of 12. 27 surveys, she told Aldrich as they left the office with certified copies, covering every parcel Lady Whitmore claims was improperly recorded. The registry numbers match. The measurements match. The signatures are authenticated by 3 separate offices. And Huxley's claim that your father forged them. Huxley claims the forgery occurred in 1887. The Ordnance Office logged these surveys in 1843, 1856, and 1871. Unless my father forged documents before he was born, Huxley is lying. The second front was financial. Aldrich, it emerged, maintained accounts at institutions Lady Whitmore could not touch. Banks established before the current system, maintained through intermediaries who had served the Voss family for generations. How many generations? Cecilia asked. The current intermediary's family has served mine since 1672. That is, a considerable loyalty. They are aware of my nature. They have been for 300 years. She filed this information. 113 questions now. The third front was Lady Whitmore herself. Aldrich knew things about the Whitmore family that the family had spent decades concealing, not scandals, structures, financial arrangements that violated trusts, property transfers that circumvented inheritance law, a pattern of acquisitions that, taken together, constituted systematic fraud over 2 generations. You have known this all along, Cecilia said. I have observed it. Knowing and proving are different things. Then we prove it. Lady Whitmore, however, was not idle. On the morning before the reconvened hearing, a notice appeared in 4 London papers simultaneously. It named Cecilia Wren as an impostor, a woman of no legitimate connection to the Ashworth family, married to Lord Voss under false pretenses, engaged in a conspiracy to defraud the estate. The notices were signed by Huxley, by Sir Reginald Fossey, and by a name Cecilia did not recognize, Dr. Elias Crowe, identified as a physician who had treated Lord Ashworth in his final months. Crowe, Aldrich said, reading the notice. Something changed in his voice. I know that name. A physician? Not exactly. He serves Lady Whitmore. He has served her family for 20 years, and he has a particular talent for producing medical testimony that supports whoever pays him. She has added a third front, Cecilia said, legal, financial, and now medical. She will argue my cousin was not competent when he drafted the will. Yes. Cecilia counted the threats: legal challenge, financial freeze, public defamation, false medical testimony, 4 simultaneous attacks. Lady Whitmore was not fighting a legal battle, she was conducting a siege. We need allies, Cecilia said. Visible ones, people whose presence in that courtroom sends a message. I know people, Aldrich said carefully, but their presence raises questions I cannot answer publicly. People like you. Yes. How many? In London, 7. 3 hold titles. 1 sits in the House of Lords. Cecilia absorbed this. A hidden aristocracy, beings who had shaped English society from within for centuries. And Aldrich had kept himself apart from them, isolated, alone, unwilling to draw on connections that might expose what he was. You have been protecting yourself for 5 centuries, she said. Protecting your secret, protecting others from your nature. She met his eyes. Stop. If they come forward, Lady Whitmore faces a wall she cannot breach. She manipulates human institutions. She cannot manipulate what she does not understand. He was silent for a long time. I have spent 489 years avoiding exactly this, he said. And I have spent 28 years counting everything I can see, Cecilia replied, including the fact that isolation has not protected you. It has only made you easier to ignore. That night, Aldrich wrote 3 letters. He sealed them with wax pressed by a ring she had not seen before, heavy, silver, bearing an insignia that predated the Tudor rose. By morning, 2 had been answered. The reconvened hearing drew a larger crowd, 47 observers. Cecilia counted them as she entered. 3 journalists, 2 from papers Lady Whitmore had used, 1 independent. Lady Whitmore arrived in black silk, attended by Sir Reginald, Huxley, and Dr. Crowe. She surveyed the courtroom with the composed authority of someone who had already won. Then she saw who sat behind Cecilia: Lord Ashford, the Viscount Marlowe, and Lady Helena Thane, a woman whose family had controlled more land in England than the crown itself for 6 consecutive centuries. Lady Whitmore's composure held, but Cecilia counted the tells. A tightening of her grip on the rail. A single glance toward Sir Reginald that communicated something urgent. Justice Blackwell called the court to order. Sir Reginald opened with Dr. Crowe's testimony. A detailed clinical assertion that Lord Ashworth had been mentally incompetent in his final months, rendering the will invalid. Cecilia listened. She counted the medical terms, she counted the dates, and she found what she was looking for. When her turn came, she stood. Dr. Crowe states he attended Lord Ashworth from March through August of last year, she said. I have here the attendance register from St. Bartholomew's Hospital, where Dr. Crowe was employed full-time during those same months. She held up the document. He attended my cousin 0 times. He could not have. He was treating patients at Bart's 6 days a week, 40 miles from the Ashworth estate. Crowe shifted in his seat. Sir Reginald began to stand. Furthermore, Cecilia continued, the medical terminology in Dr. Crowe's testimony references a diagnostic framework published in The Lancet in September of this year, 3 months after the period he claims to have observed. He is describing symptoms using language that did not exist when he claims to have witnessed them. The courtroom murmured. Justice Blackwell leaned forward. "These are serious allegations," the judge said. "They are serious facts," Cecilia replied. "I have counted them carefully." Lady Whitmore stood. "This is a desperate attempt to discredit—" "I am not finished," Cecilia said. She did not raise her voice. She did not need to. She turned to face Lady Whitmore directly. 47 witnesses, 3 journalists, 1 judge. Lady Whitmore, you have filed 4 challenges to my inheritance claim in the past 11 days. You have presented a letter from my cousin that uses an address form he abandoned 7 years before the letter was supposedly written. You have produced a witness whose testimony references a room demolished in 1891. You have entered financial documents bearing a bank stamp that did not exist at the date in question. And now you have presented medical testimony from a physician who was physically elsewhere during the period he claims to have attended the patient. She laid each document on the table as she spoke. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Counted, ordered, incontrovertible. I count things, Lady Whitmore. It is not a weakness. It is not a compulsion. It is how I see the world. And what I see, when I count your evidence, is fabrication, systematic, deliberate, and clumsy. Lady Whitmore's face drained of color. Not fear, fury. The fury of someone who had built a machine of influence and deception and was watching it disassembled by a woman with a gray dress and an excellent memory. "Sir Reginald," she hissed. But Sir Reginald Fossey was looking at the documents on the table, and what Cecilia saw in his expression was not loyalty. It was calculation. The calculation of a man realizing he was standing on the wrong side of a collapsing floor. "I have no further arguments at this time, my lord," Fossey said quietly. Justice Blackwell removed his spectacles. "Lady Whitmore, this court takes a dim view of fabricated evidence. I am dismissing the petition in its entirety. The Ashworth marriage stands. The inheritance stands. And I am referring the matter of Dr. Crow's testimony to the Medical Council for investigation." Lady Whitmore opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. "You have lost," Cecilia said. Not loudly, not with triumph, with the flat precision of someone stating a number. "I counted." Lord Ashford rose from his seat behind them. "Well argued, Lady Voss," he said, and his voice carried through the courtroom with the weight of 6 centuries of landed authority. Lady Helena Thane inclined her head in agreement. Huxley was already moving toward the exit. Crow followed. Sir Reginald collected his papers without meeting Lady Whitmore's eyes. Lady Whitmore stood alone at the petitioner's table. For the first time since Cecilia had known her, she had no document in her hand, no threat prepared, no next move ready. She looked at Cecilia. She looked at Aldrich. She looked at the gallery full of witnesses who would carry this story to every drawing room in London by evening. Then she turned and walked out of the courtroom. No one followed her. Aldrich touched Cecilia's hand. His fingers were cool, steady, and precise, like everything about him. 112 questions, he said quietly. "How many remain?" 17, she said, "but they can wait." He looked at her the way he had looked at her across the ballroom, as though he had walked past every option and every expectation and every century of solitude and found the one thing he had not known he was searching for. "I have waited 489 years, he said. 17 questions is nothing. She almost smiled, almost. "We shall see. Some of them are quite demanding." The Ashworth garden had 11 rose bushes, all dormant for winter. Cecilia stood among them in the December cold, counting the buds that would not open for months. Aldrich came to stand beside her. He moved silently. He always did. But she had learned to sense his presence by the particular quality of stillness he brought with him. The world grew quieter when he was near, as though the air itself was paying attention. The accounts have been unfrozen, he said. The estate is secure. Lord Ashford and Lady Thane have made it known that the Voss Wren household is under their protection. He paused. You are safe. For now, she said. I have already counted 6 potential challenges Lady Whitmore could mount in the spring. You will always be counting the next threat. Yes, she touched a dormant bud. And you will always be watching centuries pass. We are both cursed with awareness that does not stop. He stepped closer. Is that what this is? A shared curse? She looked at him, his amber eyes, his impossible stillness, the centuries written in the patience of his expression. 17 questions remain, she said. Ask one. The first night, at the ballroom, you walked past 9 women. You came to me. She held his gaze. Why? Because you were counting the exits, he said. Because you were standing in a room that wanted you gone, and you were measuring it instead of fleeing. Because in 489 years, I have never seen anyone look at a hostile room and take its inventory. That is 4 reasons. I have had centuries to accumulate them. The garden was silent. 11 dormant roses. 1 woman who counted everything. 1 man who had outlived everything. 16 questions left, she said. He leaned down and kissed her. His lips were cool and precise, and she counted nothing at all for 3 entire seconds, which was, she would later reflect, the most remarkable thing that counted nothing at all for 3 entire seconds, which was, she would later reflect, the most remarkable thing that had nothing at all for 3 entire seconds, which was, she would later reflect, the most remarkable thing that had ever happened to her. 15, she corrected when he pulled back. That answered 1. The first winter star appeared above the rooftops. Cecilia did not count it. She let it simply be, bright and singular and present, like the man beside her, like the life she had measured into existence 1 number at a time.